Hey, good morning, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital. This is Creativity 202 for the year 2003, lesson number 2, check in on March 5th, 2023. Fortunately, I have that little date clock bar on the bottom so I know what year it is. Uh, we'll just start off with our usual short check in, see how things are going. I'll call on you in the order in which I see you. Tom Sullivan, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, decent week. So everything's good here in Chicago. So I hope.
Awesome. Satya, how's things up your way?
Uh, yes, Dr. Long, good morning and good morning to all of you. Everything is fine. Yesterday it was a big storm here, almost 30 inches of snow, and almost like half day of mine is gone to clearing up the snow. So, and my wife was also feeling sorry for the last time because she came back from the groceries and she was thinking I'm watching a video, which I do almost all the time. And I hope that's
Oh,
all.
that was fine. It was good to see her there. Did you say 13 feet of snow?
No, 13 inches.
Oh, okay. All right.
Uh,
Oh, well,
30.
that's not a big deal. It's only 13. It's only
No,
more than a
30
foot
feet
of
is
snow
it's
on
covered
Ryan.
all the house.
Okay. 13 feet would get my attention.
Oh, sorry, maybe it
Yeah.
was inches. No,
Yeah.
no feet.
Well, I used to go to school in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and the year at Michigan Tech, there's a tiny little peninsula that sticks out into Lake Superior, and we got 360 inches of snow,
Oh,
which is 30 feet.
yeah.
And up there, they don't use salt. All they do is they use earth moving equipment and push the snow to the side and pack it down. So you could literally, you'd be driving down a bobsled run essentially, and then they would have to cut pathways on the sidewalks so you could
Oh,
cross the street. It was literally little tunnels. And to do that, they had a little snowplow that looked like a one-man submarine sitting on tank treads.
yeah.
We called him the snow mole, and that thing would just drive into snowbanks and plow a tunnel. It was the funniest thing you ever saw. Yeah, and that was a whole new world up there uh, with 30 feet of snow. So when you said 13 feet, I was suffering flashbacks.
huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning, Chinlong. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Ken. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, we have some good weather here. In Calgary, really different weather. Some day really cold, some day warm because the snow is melting. In the winter, we never wash our car. You go out for 1 minute, splash everywhere. Get dirty again. That's it. I hope.
Good morning, Jeff. How's things?
Oh, things are great here, Ken. It's the sun shining. It's on its way to 79 degrees. So I came in the house for this meeting, and I plan to go back out and enjoy the weather here shortly. So
Very,
all,
very nice.
all is well. I
Very
did
nice.
spend a winter flying on the eastern shore of Michigan one time. I forget. I was trying to look up the name of the town, but
Probably
being south,
Lake St. Clair, or was it
yeah,
Lower Peninsula?
yeah, it was on the east side on the lower end. I can't recall it.
Maybe Port Huron.
But
Uh,
anyway, they have a lake effect snow there
oh yeah.
4 hours a day when the conditions are right.
Oh, on the east side of Lake Michigan. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, Probably Grand Rapids.
yeah. So it was
Yeah.
crazy for a southern guy like me to be up there, and they had the snow removal equipment going 24 hours a day on the runways, but they were iced up.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It didn't inspire me to move up there.
Yeah, that is no joke. The east side, the lake effect there, that whole Chicago loop is just that'll get your attention.
Yeah, we would be on approach over the lake towards the runway. And when it was clear enough to see, the lake was partially frozen. It looked like the Alaskan tundra. It was
Yeah.
crazy. I've got photographs of it somewhere. Aho.
Nice. Good morning, Ken. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Ken. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, good afternoon from here. And yeah, all good, all good. Yeah, kind of good to be here. Not much more to say. I think it's been I don't know, the day has passed very quickly. That's all I can say. So,
Yeah, you're still drained from that Arsenal comeback.
oh man, totally. Oh, well, you kind of knew it when it was 2-0. Then you
Yeah,
think Arsenal have done
here
they've
they
done it
come.
before. Yeah,
Yeah,
they come.
here they come.
But yep, there you are. I hope.
Hey, good morning, Ernie. What's going on?
Good morning, everybody. Sorry to be late. Stayed up again late last night. Didn't mean to, but uh, came crashing in here, and it's good to see everyone. Everything here is in St. Charles, Missouri. It's a beautiful day, and looking forward to getting out in it and enjoying the sunshine. And as always, it's great to see you guys.
Awesome.
Aho.
Doing good here. The girls came home. They're getting ready to monkey around uh, and go to brunch. I think when we're done here, they're talking about a little sous vide robot. Trying to persuade my wife that that's a good thing. You just plug the food cartridge in, tell it whenever you want it done. It'll keep it cool until it's time to cook, and then everything comes out at the right time, ready to eat, and it bakes, broils, sous vides, and everything. So they're playing kitchen gadgetry. I'm trying to get a sandwich around here or a piece of celery with some peanut butter, and I'm good. But it's fun listening to them do their planning. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move us into the circle. A lot to cover today, and looking forward as always to your stories. So here we go into the sacred circle. Satya.
Yeah, so last week's my word was responsibility, and responsibility for me is to take ownership of your mistakes and your day-to-day life thing. And it happened to me, my trading journey. It's like where I had a plan, failed, and did the planning again. And my trading journey started in 2015. I was learning. I was studying CMT level 1, which I passed in 2015, and it gave me a little bit confidence to day trading. And I started day trading around like 2016 with I borrowed some money from my line of credit around $30,000, and I was what I learned from the CMT is I learned the patterns and moving averages, and I was following my rules and doing good. I took it to from 30K to 42K in 2 to 3 months, and then after that I start feeling that I'm not making much improvement, and I start looking for other programs and how to make more money. And then I came across a guy. His story was he was a school teacher and made millions of dollars in stock market. And then I joined his program where what they were doing is they were playing with the penny stocks, and he was keeping his portfolio open, and he was looking at the trades, and he can say that you can purchase with me, sell with me. And let's say if he buy a 60-cent stock, and he purchased when he purchased, the stock jumps right away to $1 or 120. And when I have to put my order, it's always feel badly like 90 cents or a dollar. And after that, it jumped like 50, 60 cents. He starts selling it. And by the other traders, they put their order. It all you are already in red, and you get all the time bad fills. And and not get the good price. And you cannot short those penny stocks. Those are not available with your broker. So that how my downfall started. I lost all $42,000, and I put another $19,000 and repeat the same mistake that I'm going to do good this time. But no, after it all almost like after 8 9 months, I lost like 60 70 thousand dollars. And previously I was working as a mortgage agent with Dominion Lending Centers, and I didn't work that too, so I lost that income also. So it was more than $100,000, and my wife was looking weird at me that you lost that much. And then I had the planning again in uh, 2018. One of my friend, he has a trucking company in the flatbed side. So I had a conversation with him, and I purchased a brand new truck and start driving under his company, going West Coast and East Coast. And it was my 5 year plan to do that thing. So in the first and 1 year and a half, I completely paid off all my debt, everything. And after 3 years, I purchased another property, put two legal units in it, and I'm doing that third legal unit also. So it is a triplex where I'm getting enough money to cover for my both houses, mortgages, and all the utilities and everything. It's covering up. So my expenses are around like 14,000, but I'm getting around 10,000 in rental income. So almost like 80% financially free. And when I was driving truck, I was keep looking for how can I be a better trader, and I came across Dr. Wentharp website, and I read his couple of his books, Super Trader and Trading Beyond the Matrix and Financial Freedom. And I was looking to do Super Trader program, but at that time it was expensive for me, so I didn't join. But I I saw Dr. Ken Long's videos, and there I resonated that he's doing day trading, and that I wanted to do day trading as well. And and Dr. Long has this very reasonable a monthly subscription also, which I joined, I think, in 2019, late 2019 or 2020, and start watching your videos. In my truck, it's all the time, like 70 80% of the time, I was watching your videos only. So I did all day bar by bar training when you were doing with uh, uh, Ken Hum and other traders. So I was watching very carefully all that stuff. And after last year, I sold my truck and put some money into the trading account with Interactive Brokers, and have some money for like 6 to 8 months to cover up my expenses. And now, from the last week, I start trading like with the real money. I was doing it for the 3 4 weeks before, but last week I made like $1,000 in profit, and now feeling confident. If I keep making like $1,000 a week, I'm totally financially free. And on the trader side, like sometimes I have very strong intuition. Like last Friday, I have. The strong intuition about Tesla stock, like is opened higher, and it's come down, it's wiggle around. But I was looking at the other chart also. Now how I am trading is 30 minutes chart and 3 minutes chart. When it's 3 minutes chart has like some fast movements, I look at the 30 minute and comfort myself. Okay, it's everything is okay. Now you have to stay with the trend. And because before I was getting out very quick, and it's very hard to get back in the trades. And about when I make money, obviously I feel very good about it, and when I lose it, it's a sad moment. But I calm myself that another day is coming and you can make that money back. So this is all about the trading and about how my plan failed and come back with the different planning. And now I'm more confident, have money also, and that's all that about story. Aho.
Tom.
My word from last week was goal. But my goal actually was just to practice, and I mean stay in the process of my practice, which is like framing and being involved in the market every day. Follow my rules and my plan. I read the lesson. I read about Napoleon and Clausewitz comments. And you know, the thing I found interesting about the story was Napoleon didn't know when to cut his losses. So if he would have cut his losses earlier, he wouldn't have had his army totally wiped out. So I mean, his idea was good to plan, but he didn't have a stop loss. Let's see. When I was going through, let's see, it said identify moments in chaos in a day. When it brings out the worst in people and the best in you. So I think I see it a lot in sports. I mean, people have a plan, and I think I heard somewhere like everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, and then then they just their plan goes out the window. But I think one of the things that happened, I mean, I still play some sports, and we're playing and really doing good. And then like I think the tide turns, and then somebody might make, hey, you stepped out of the box, and then that should have went over. And yeah, I mean, I was like, yeah, fine, but it didn't. So we just move on. So I didn't get mad or angry or argue. I see so many arguments, and I'm just like, oh, well, let's replay it or something. So I see that going on a lot. And then the second one was like recall a past plan that failed and write out how you rebounded from that and the failure. Well, one of the things I think, I don't know how many times I went through, I had a plan to take the super trader program, go through a year, and then quit my job and start trading and full time, be financially free. Well, it didn't really work that way. I was in the super trader program for a long time. Still had some problems, and I wasn't trading, and I put all my trading aside, and I was working and was going through the program, and it just didn't work out the way I planned. So eventually I finished Super Trader 1. And I didn't continue to go into Super Trader 2 because I thought at that point I just had to stop and reset. And actually I started getting more involved in trading and I was doing basically good until COVID hit, and then I started accumulating some losses. I lost probably like about 15,000, and then I just stopped. I just stopped trading and had to reset because I had some issues with the way the COVID was affecting the society. So after that, I reset again, and I started following Ken's program and listening to the nightly podcasts. And I realized what a great value it was, and I'm starting to get back to where I feel halfway decent about trading again. How do I feel about trading by intuition and feel? I think, I mean, that's good, but if it's also good to know the product you're trading. So like if I'm unfamiliar with the way a stock reacts during the day, or I'm just not used to seeing it, then I'm not comfortable with intuition because they could lead me in the wrong direction. But if I'm familiar with it, then yeah, I'm a lot more comfortable, and I'd feel good about using some intuition or thoughts about which way it may go, as long as I could react properly. How do I feel about strict rules? I have a rule set that I'm following, that I'm working with. I feel like right now that I need the strict rules, and it's for protection. So I feel good about rules. I think they could be adjusted. I mean, as time goes on, if you see that you assess it and see how they're working, and if there's statistically, you could change it for value, then I think that's a good thing to do. Doesn't matter whose rules they are. I think the important thing is that if they fit my system and beliefs, if I'm able to trade it, then if they're profitable, then it really doesn't matter if I'm able to trade it. But that's about judgments I have and thoughts I have, as long as they fit my personality. Do I get a certain mood to trade? Do I need to be it? I need to. I got kind of no and yes. I mean, I want to be in a good mood, but at the same time, I shouldn't. I mean, I don't want to be sick and be feeling physically ill and then trading. But as a businessman, then no, I just need to take it as like it's something I want to do, and I enjoy it, and that should be the condition that fits into my life for trading. And how do I feel? I find when I want to do something and I enjoy it, then the process is just worth doing. How do I feel about a good trade? I feel good. I usually just take it. I want to take things like as part of the practice. I feel good about it, of course, that my system's working and the trade worked out. How do I feel about a bad trade? Well, I don't. Bad trade. This means probably I didn't follow my rules, so I don't feel good about it. I got to make adjustments in my mindset and just make it work. I try to take a lot of the feelings out and look at it as a business, like something that is a mission to do. It's like a way to make a living. Are my feelings symmetrical about wins and losses? Well, sometimes I notice like when I'm trading, they're not, but I'm aware of it, and I'm trying to overcome the differences. I just want to, like I said, I want to make it a business. Like a loss is a loss. You just got to reset right away. If I have a trade that's profitable, and then I'm stopped out, would I get right back in? And right now, no. It takes me a little while to reset. I have to sit out until I reset my feelings, because for some reason in my mind it's like oh, okay, I got a profit and it might be early in the day and I don't want to get right back in because I got this mindset, oh, you don't want to give it back to the market. So there's a few periods of time in there where I just like shut it down for an hour or two, take a break, and when I go back and look at the market and decide if I'll get back in. After a loss, how do I feel? I tell you, after a loss, it's the opposite. I feel like I almost feel like I want revenge against the market. So that's the same situation. I just shut it down and I wait and until I get rid of that feeling and accept it as like this part of trading, and and I feel better about getting into the market and just get back to work. So there was a lot of what does the zone mean to me? The zone is my ability to frame trades and trade my system without the emotional highs and lows. That's the zone. And let's see, got a couple more. When do I study to trade? Well, lately I've been, I study early in the morning, and I decided that that's not the best time. I need to study at the end of the trading day because I still work and I don't come straight home and get onto the computer and study and assess what I did. So, but I have to. I mean, that's just something I have to do because I'm more aware of what was going on during the day and conscious of my thoughts during the time. How do I, let's see. And I think further on, it was a question about journals, and I'm not real good at journaling, and that's another thing I got to work on. Do I write down my feelings before trades or during trades? And I probably could. I got notes in my phone. I could probably put something down in my notes and then track it more purposely. So be more aware of what I'm thinking at the time of my entries or exits. And I hope.
Chin Long, then Ernie.
Thank you, Ernie. Yeah, my word of last week is mastery. I think is what I'm trying to do now, just practice to achieve mastery. Is related to the collapsing dragon kata challenge I'm doing. Just recap what I did for last 3 months. So November, December last year, I start with risk $20 to trade those patterns. Then quickly realize, I cannot trade that. I reduce my risk to $5, still not good result. So I just realized, if I cannot trade those patterns with a high efficiency, I will not to trade. So I decided go back to use simulator to trade the patterns. That's what I'm trying to do. That's right now. Just do the collapsing dragon kata challenge. Just trade that pattern. Use the simulator. That is also my work in progress. for last week. About this week's lesson, the Fletcher exercise 1, I actually think about the different part of myself, when I stay home, I cannot watch somebody else. It's just me. But when there's something happen, there's a different part of me. There's part of panic, part of anger, part of blame. Also some professional parts as a part of courage, part of ingenuity, and part of care. So daily, those parts struggle with each other. I think in the long term, the professional parts will win the battle. Myself become calm and courageous, take trade again, and life continues. The Fletcher exercise 2. When I do that exercise, I just think about my super trader program. I go through the 3-year super trader program. Finish that in 3 years is a big achievement. Then I start to trade some strategies for about a year. To say the best, it's not success, the mixed results, some good trade, some bad trade. I also realize, for the past year or 1.5 years, it's not the strategy is bad. It's the market time is not for that strategy. So in last year, around May, I exit all my positions, all my strategies, try to relearn. That's why I, joined this group, joined Ken's community. So my work in progress since then is ruthless risk management. Yeah, I think that's a lot I have learned. That's a lot how to learn, to master the trading. That's the exercise 2. The trader's exercise, all those questions really good for assess trading, assess myself. There's one question stand up, make me really think about. The question is, do your results create your feelings, or do your feelings create your result? At the beginning, I thought, it's both. My feeling creates my result, and the result creates some feelings, bad mood, good mood. When I think deeper, I get concluded like it's actually my feeling creates all those results. For example, there's a losing trade. How do I say it? It's bad or good? If I look at my 100 trade, that single trade wouldn't matter if I have a positive expectancy. That's how my feeling creates a result. If I feel bad about that trade, I didn't see the positive expectancy. That's my thought on that exercise. For the next week, I will continue to do my kata challenge. I have to think about how to assess my result. One good enough is good enough. Want to move to next kata challenge. Today's lesson, all those 20-something questions, I have to use that to make a shorter plan to assess my kata challenge and how good I am good at that, and then move to next kata challenges like SSC and Marine Dragon continue to kata 2. That's my next week plan to assess. That's a part of plan, prepare, execute, assess. So next week I'll focus on assess. I hope.
Ernie, are you still up?
Yes,
All
sir.
right, there we go. Because things can
Oh.
change.
Well, old as I am, I might forget. I did something last week that I don't normally do, and I don't like to do. I watched the YouTube thing, and which I really enjoy. I get to see what the other group has done, and that's fun. But what I don't like doing is watching me. So I went ahead and did it anyway, and I think I'm pretty boring because I think the YouTube algorithm that throws those commercials in, it threw in so many commercials while I was watching it. So I must have been terrible. I'm sure I even upset the computer. But anyway, I enjoy the lessons quite a bit, and I really, really enjoy the perspectives that you add to it. There were several things that I got from it. One of them is, I have enjoyed reading about Dwight Eisenhower, and I remember being really little and watching on black and white TV with the family whenever Eisenhower was nominated to run for president, and I was, I just remember everybody being so excited and I had no idea what was going on. I was pretty young, but as I've gotten older, it's been interesting to read his career, and I really loved the remark that in preparing for battle, I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. I'm not the best at planning. It's one of my many weaknesses, but it's something that that I do, and I really do believe in it, even though I resist it. But I know the value of a good plan and following that plan and making the plan work. I think was it the A-Team, when the guy at the end would always say, "I love it when a plan comes together." It really is a satisfying feeling, and so it's something that I'm working on. I'm starting on the 2 P's, planning and prepare. I love to execute. That's what I really want to do. But I'm really trying to get into that, and I know the value, and I'm trying to make that work. So, and like Tom was talking about, I'm trying to journal more. I'm not really, it's good to put down your thoughts. It's also part of the planning, putting that down and reviewing it. So, and I'm trying to work on the journaling. And I'm sort of afraid to write it down, because my wife's going to sit at the desk and she's going to pick up that piece of paper and then say, "What are you doing with my money?" So, but I've discovered OneNote, and so now I'm using that and trying to get organized with that, and it's really been good to use that. So the part of the exercise is it talked about the rules. And it says, does it matter whose rules they are? And I think that's awfully important. More important, as I've reflected on it, I think it's a lot more important than I might have originally thought. I use Ken's rules, and it's really easy to say, well, I'm following Ken's rules. And in a way, doing that, I'm preparing for failure, because if it's not successful, I can blame it on Ken's rules. It can't be Ken's rules. What his rules are is basically a gift. And this is from my perspective. I'm treating them as a gift. And if I want to honor the gift, then I really have to make it my rules. And because I have to take responsibility for what happens, and I can't set myself up for failure by saying I'm going to use someone else's rules. I really think I think it's better to honor the gift and honor the rule and say, if I'm going to follow it and commit to it, it becomes my rules, and whatever happens will be because of what I did with the rule that I followed. And so I'm really it almost sounds selfish because it's like, well, I'm so good, this was my idea. It wasn't my idea. Some of these, I steal the ideas from others, and I'll do it shamelessly. If it's a good idea, then I want to make it mine as well, and then honor the person that I might have borrowed the idea from. So I'm really trying to take responsibility and commit to it. And then the other thing that I got from the lesson was reset. I really do believe in doing that. I'm doing that from last week. There were some really good opportunities, and I failed to plan. I failed to prepare, and I missed it. It was really silly. And Alcoa is my stock from last week that I'm kicking myself over, and say, I really blew that. I really did not do it well. I'm taking Griff and Phil's course, and Alcoa was one of the 4 stocks that I was going to watch and treat it in a certain way, and I failed to do that. So I have been mentally resetting after that and say, okay, what did I do wrong? And what am I going to do about it in the future? And so I think this is a good thing for me to do. My wife was a kindergarten teacher. She had a timeout box. So I'm putting myself in the timeout box, and I'm going to reflect on what happened and then move forward. So, but overall, it was a good week. It was a good week for me to step back and evaluate some of the things that I've been doing, and I'm really going to get into the my planning and take another look at how I'm doing some things. So I'm excited and looking forward to the week. And as always, I look forward to seeing you guys. Ha-ho.
Ken.
Hi everyone. Hey, good to see the old gang, and also nice to see the new. Sorry, I'm from the old group, so Satya and Jeff. It's nice to see you all. I don't know if I should welcome you or you should be welcoming me because I'm late. I didn't turn up last week, but anyway, yeah, it's a kind of sense of deja vu doing the lesson. Actually, it was one of the ones I picked out from last time. So it was the unknown and all that. So this time I'll probably just talk about my work in progress. And I got to say that what you guys have said, Tom, Ernie, Chandler, and what Satya have shared about the traders' questions, I probably don't need to go over them. I do the same, or I have similar experiences in those things. So well, this time last year, I hadn't actually started the sniper trading. I was doing my other strategy with the options. So, and this time going through the traders' questions, they make a lot more sense, and every single one of them can lead you to a deeper reflection and probably a better understanding of how we all trade as traders and give us a more understanding of our psychology. And that's what I felt. But I'll try and not probably go through my answers, otherwise this would take too long. But I will. So my work in progress, if I can just carry on with that, is trading, the sniper trading. And I started in September. kind of September, end of September, and I was doing okay. My what do you call it? Cumulative ARCA was heading in the right direction. And then in January, it kind of had a big collapse. And I was like, what's going on? So, well, I had stopped for like 2-3 weeks for Christmas and all that time. And I think getting back, I just wasn't getting into the swing of things. Looking, so this is where I am now. January was really had a big negative R, and then February was kind of break even, and March so far is kind of a break even. So the progress is, I feel I have made progress, in terms of reading the RL10 and reading the patterns, and knowing better when to enter. It's like, yes, I'm seeing things that I didn't see before. It's just that the results are not progressing, so there's work to do on that. On the downside is that I seem to have more fear in certain situations now that I'm going through the pain of in particular getting chopped up, which is my issue. Yeah, so that's kind of where I am in terms of progress. And if I can then now link this to one of the question in terms of mindset, what's that? Do your results create your feelings, or do your feelings create your results? My answer is still both, but they're not the same feelings. So feelings definitely can create results, because when I'm trading fearful, I trade in a different way, and I tend to lose. So it's not a great feeling to have when you are trying to enter the trade. And you kind of see, my imagination takes over, and you see all kinds of ghosts and coming at you, and then all this kind of stuff. But when you the other way, so your results can create your feelings as well, because after a good trade and then it's a win, of course you feel good about it, right? And like, I think it was Tom, you said, and after that I actually have to reset. So I can't, once I've closed the trade, I don't generally like to go into another trade, especially if it's in the opposite direction. So I kind of had to take a little time to reset sometimes. Okay, so that was that, about mindset. And yeah, and at one point I had, because of my January losses, I had narrowed it down to, I kind of, okay, cut down this number of symbols you're trading, just focus on one and just focus on that, see whether that helps. It kind of helped for a bit, steadied up the results, but then when nothing happened, when there was a sideways move in that symbol, then you're sitting there with nothing to do, and sometimes just trying to find another mover on the day without having done any planning is probably not good for me. It tend not to work very well. Anyway, so moving on. So, and then what happened? I started going back after I did this for a while. I kind of started. I said I needed to go back to trading more than one symbol in a day, but I was kind of afraid to do it, because I said, oh, that's like tripling the risk if you're trading your risk of loss if you're trading three symbols. And what helped me was really a mindset that I had last time when I was doing this, is to think of it as, remind myself that I'm actually in the testing phase. You're not really losing anything. It's testing. It's R&D is what I called it in the presentation. And why am I concerned about the score or anything? This is really, you got to find out what can happen, what can fail, what can work. So forget about the score, and that helped me really to free myself from that kind of the scorekeeper, to get back into the symbol and started trading, to start firing again. So that was what happened. And Ken came up with the I don't know what you call it, but it was fog B. We had fog B, fear of giving back, and during the week, it's like, I think maybe it's the opposite or something different to FOMO, but we have fog B, which I thought that is definitely what I have. You are in there, and it moves 1R, and then it's like, okay, it's coming back. What's going on here? It's coming back. It's coming back. So, And then you probably cut the trade early, and then it resumes to move. And really, actually, I learned a lot from Satya. Satya's posting, and I seriously, I've learned so much from you. I'm seeing that, hey, Satya, he gets in and stays in, and that's it. One long, beautiful trade like the Tesla trade that you did, and probably others. And I'm thinking I probably need to find out how he does that, or so thanks for sharing today, Satya, about how you're doing it. Of course, you've had a lot. You've also been trading a lot longer and all that experience. But so I'm trying to learn from good examples. Wojtek is the other person who seemed to be able to do it, to just enter and then sit on it on that 3-minute chart, and not worry about the kind of up and down that actually doesn't really get back to scratch even. So anyway, so that's that's where I am, my work in progress. I think I'll probably just stop there, I hope.
Jeff.
Hello, everyone. Tom, Kuhn, Chen Long, Ernie, Satya. Nice to meet you all. I almost feel like I know you guys because I watched some of the replays when I was trying to make the decision to join the course. So happy to be here. This course is much more than I ever expected it to be. And I came really close to not joining it. As a trader, we talk ourselves into and out of many things, but something inside me knew that this was exactly what I needed. And I want to thank Chen Long. Watching you, hearing your questions, and seeing your courage and watching you do the work was the thing that tipped the scales and let me have the courage to step up and do this. So my gratitude to you. Doing this lesson, I've had so many insights. I've got pages of notes. I'm not going to bore you with those. One thing that's come up repeatedly in C202 is the realization that maybe I didn't know what I thought I did. And in its simplest form is the definition of common words like artifact. When I heard Ken first start talking about artifacts, I wasn't interested. I didn't think I needed an artifact because I only had one definition for what that meant. And then when the light bulb moment came and I thought, well, maybe there's another definition for artifact, and I realized what he was talking about, I realized I have artifacts everywhere and I value them highly for the reasons that he describes. Chaos was another word that came up. We use that word in my work all the time, chaos as a cloud of indecision, or when plans start to break. So I actually looked up the definition of it, and it's just a behavior so unpredictable as to appear random, owing to great sensitivity to small changes in conditions. And I wrote that down because I thought that applied to trading pretty much directly. A lot of people think that chaos means war, death. That's really not how I look at it. But now I have a new definition for an old word, which changes everything. Exercise 1, identify moments of chaos in the day. That was a slow pitch for me because that's the life I live in my job and in what I do. We plan constantly and in great detail, knowing that the lifespan of any plan is about 15 minutes, but that's only if you wait 10 minutes to put it into effect. So by the time we or an hour into the flight, we're on plan C or, Charlie Delta. You're just constantly improvising within the framework of that original plan. So there were some insights for me, and I've got a lot of notes, but that wasn't, that's something that I've been trained in and I've exercised for 30 years, the active planning, trying to implement plans, realizing that they're not working and having to replan. So that's actually a skill that I think I had coming into this. And then the traders exercise. I've done these several times before in the last 10 years. The big aha moment for me was the realization that, I don't know why this didn't come to me 6-7 years ago when I first was introduced to Ken's work, because he uses descriptive terms that come from his military background, and he tells stories from that framework and that history. And I never made the connection, but I need to trade exactly like I fly, because that's what I'm the best at. If I'm the best at anything, it's that. And if I really think about it, how I fly is how I do everything else. So trying to be a different trader than who I really am is never going to work. So I need to focus on the commonalities between the skill sets that I use in flying and apply that to my trading. And the other aha moment was, I think this is the first time I ever completed one of these psychological type exercises and felt that it was true and honest and valuable. Before, it felt like I was making stuff up. Like when I went back and reread it, it didn't have any connection or real value. But this is the first time I've ever done it where I thought, this is true and this is valuable information, and I need to be aware of it, and I need to continuously monitor it and refine it. So last week, my word was accept, to accept where I'm at and the work that needs to be done, and just to focus on that. Be careful what you wish for, because I had many opportunities to accept things last week. And during that process, I learned another new word here a few weeks ago, watching videos and in this course, and that was aho, which I think Ken defined as meaning as it should be. And so that has become my new mantra in life and in trading. When anything happens, just to mentally say aho, because this is how it is, so this is how it should be. And to take that one step further, this was always going to happen. I'm not allowed to be surprised by that, because I knew it was a real possibility from the beginning, right? So that was a big takeaway from the week. This course is so good that now I find myself wanting to know how the science behind it works, because I've never had this amount of material and progress in this short a time. So for me, it's definitely noteworthy. In the past week, one thing that resonated with me a couple of weeks ago, and I'm a slow learner, so I have to hear, Ken said something a couple of weeks ago, maybe 1 week ago. He was answering someone's question. And he said, geez, you guys have got to be tired of listening to this, because I just keep saying the same thing over and over. Well, I'm the guy that needs to hear it 5,741 times. And then on the next time, I actually get it. For the first time, I understand fully what he is saying. And so the first things first stuck with me when I started this course, and I implemented that last week by scheduling time, restructuring my week to allow for the things that I needed to do in this area. So that was to do the work in 202 and to focus on trading for the entire week as much as possible without violating my integrity and my commitments that I'd already made. So I ended up working from home all week, and my guys were looking for emotional support in the beginning, but I reassured them, I'm here, I'm not far away, call me if you need something. And it actually worked out really well. I won't be able to sustain this. I have to go back to work Monday, or they'll be looking to replace me probably. But so my next challenge is to balance that, because I've got a lot of momentum, and now I need to sustain that. So Yeah, the mindset lesson was that I'm a pilot and I always will be, and I need to learn to use that in my trading the way Ken has used his experience as a soldier and a teacher in his trading. My zero state is the test pilot mentality of being focused, slightly on the edge of my seat, and ready to act in an if then that capacity. Because on a maintenance test flight in an airplane, you hope nothing happens, but you know that it's probably the most dangerous flight that I take all year. And I'm the only guy that does maintenance test flights in our company. So I do all of them. On a maintenance test flight, you fly the airplane to all the known limits. There's a specific profile that you fly it, and you intentionally run the engine to its maximum limits. You go as fast as the airplane can possibly go. You pull as many G's as it's certified to pull. And you do all this because you want to induce a failure in that flight if it's going to happen. And we've taken prior precautions to make sure that I don't die when I do that. And knock on wood, so far it's okay. But then after I finish the flight, then it goes back into maintenance and they re-inspect the airplane to make sure that I didn't damage it during that hard flight. And then I do another acceptance flight, which is normal. And then it goes back out on the flight line for everyone else to fly and do whatever they want to with it. And we've done all that we can do to test and make sure that airplane is safe and ready to go. So last week, or the last 2 weeks, when I committed to this course, and to trading again, recommitted to trying to be a professional trader instead of just a hobbyist trader. I'm a take it and trade it kind of guy. So I use that test pilot mentality and got great results. I learned that I'll follow any rule as long as it works, but I have to know it. In aviation, I don't make up the rules. I have my own personal rules that I kind of layer on top of the actual rules, but the FAA rules and the government rules are not mine. They're imposed and they're monitored. And if you cross those lines, you get slapped down really quick, right? There are penalties. So I can follow rules as long as I know it and as long as it works. So I did 57 trades in 2 weeks. The first 30 trades took a week to do, and they were on a 3-minute chart. And that was the best that I'm capable of doing. I know that I can do no better right now. In the future, I can do better, but right now I couldn't do any better. But the results were so encouraging that I thought, you know what, I think I can actually do this, but now it's time for a maintenance test flight. I need to stress test this thing and see how bad it could get. So what I did is I went down from the 3-minute chart, which I was starting to get fairly comfortable with, even though the decision points come quicker, to the 1-minute chart. And the reason I did that is because I had failed miserably on my first attempt at the 1-minute chart when I was kind of testing the waters a month ago. I lasted about an hour, and I was so triggered by the huge price bars and movement that I just lost my mind. And I ended up just laughing at myself. And I was like, this is not where you need to be. So I actually just kind of got scared of it and quit. I didn't even complete the attempt. So after having a very nice string of trading where I felt like I was really doing my best and the results are not going to get any better until I do a lot more work to slowly and incrementally get better. So I was pretty happy with the whole thing. I decided, I think it was on the 2nd, March 2nd. So that was Thursday. So on Wednesday, I decided to close out all my positions to have a clear mind. And I planned on Thursday to only trade TLT, which is Treasury bonds, ETF, because it's super, super liquid and I know it really well. But I'm only going to trade that on the 1-minute chart. I'm going to go into, I didn't frame it. I didn't have any idea or assumptions of where it was going to go. I just wanted to trade it from the opening bar to the closing bar, taking each signal as they come one at a time. So I did that, and it was crazy hard. There's 390 bars on a 1-minute chart, and 8 hours of that. It was at least as hard as any flying that I've ever done, but I finished it, which was great. I reviewed my results. I have a trade log now and a trade journal, and I have screenshots of all my trades, which I never did before. I actually have a simple trading plan that exists. It'll change with time, but anyway, the amazing thing that came out of the review was that even with me driving that thing on a 1-minute chart, which I'm not good at, and I'm kind of scared of, it produced a positive expectancy that day. So that tells me that this system has a very definable edge and it's robust, because with me nowhere near my best and taking trades that I wouldn't normally take, because I went from a kata 2 long fail, and I'm like, well, now this is a kata 2 short, I'll take that one. And I took every single identifiable trade on the chart, and it still produced a positive expectancy. That was very, very that was important to me to understand that, this works. If I do the work, this will work. So I finished out the day yesterday, Friday, which was my roughest day ever. Came into the day thinking that I was ready to trade, planning to actually trade and not do the 1-minute chart again. But my whole world fell apart mentally. I thought I was ready, and then in about an hour in the session, I started out long Rivian, had a nice trade right off the opening bar, and my stop got hit, should have re-entered long, ended up shorting it, and for some reason I got a short bias that I couldn't shake, and I was aware of it the whole time it was happening. Like, I should have been long bonds. On my normal trading day, I would have been long every day, everything, because I wait for weeks for those days to happen, and I will be all in long on everything, because that's the kind of trader I usually am. But I was completely shaken, stopped trading, took about an hour and a half off at lunch, got some lunch, reset, took about 7 pages of notes, like, why can't I figure this out? And then, so I came back at the end of the day with one plan, and that was, all right, this happens. It's happened to me before, but it's really been like years since that actual event happened, where I was just totally shaken. But I came back in and said, look, I'm going to watch. And I had this bearish part of me that was like, we've got to short this thing. And I'm watching it going up thinking, you are insane. I'm not shorting anything. So I came back into the last session planning to just watch the price action. And I had made a plan that I would take one trade on Tesla, because I've traded it for years, and it has a habit of sucking in everybody long and then selling off into the close. And it'll do the opposite too. So I said, okay, on a 3-minute chart, if that trade materializes and Tesla's weak, we'll take that trade and that trade only. So I took that trade. It ended up being a decent winning trade and closed everything out. But this past week, I learned more than I have in the past 2 years in 1 week, because I was able, and I had the luxury of just dedicating this whole week to all aspects of my trading, creating a trading plan, doing all that stuff. And the crazy thing is, my little experiment on the 1-minute chart kind of wrecked my trade log, right, and my histogram, because I didn't do very good. And then Friday was a total disaster. I didn't lose a lot of money, but I lost a lot of opportunity that I would have normally and comfortably just captured the whole move or a very large part of it. But this 2-week experiment, the first week was 31 trades in a thoughtful, and I think as professional as I'm capable of right now, was really good. And then this last week of all these smaller trades was a learning experience. It didn't cost me anything except my time. And I remember Ken saying, and I wrote down somewhere in my notes, trading your time for knowledge is probably the best trade that you can make, but only if you put that knowledge into action later. I've had this knowledge for years. I've just never followed through and done the work to put it into action. But I ended up this 2-week trial up 15.87R, and that was following Ken's rules only on a 3-minute chart and a 1-minute chart. And typically I'm a high time frame trader, an hour chart or above. But it was very small position sizing. At first I thought I might paper trade it, but I know from the past that I can't paper trade. I won't actually sit and do it, especially if you have to watch daily or 3-minute bars. There's no way I would be serious. So I traded it with real money at a much smaller position size than I would normally trade. And, that netted me $316 for the 2-week period, which part of me that was what wrecked me on Friday. is there was about half of me was just rebelling that we weren't trading for money, and the other half had committed to not trade for money, that we're just trading for experience and learning, and we have to know the system and we got to test it. And I was successful for 4 days with that first plan. And on Friday, there was some part of me that just rebelled and said, look, I've had it. You're missing out on all this money, and the learning is over. But the lucky thing is, even though it took an hour and a half, I resolved that and I recognized where it was coming from. And like I said, that's about all I got. But I learned more in the past week than I have in the past 2 years. I learned about Ken's system, but I also learned about me trading Ken's system. And that's really what I need to know. So thank you guys for listening, and aho.
As always, you guys just continue to blow me away. Let me see what I got here. Let me know when you can see that screen. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to start at the end and work my way backwards. So with Jeff, participating in this course is exactly like staying in the trade. The same thing that Satya is doing is what we're contending with when we're trading our time for money in the course and saying, I'm just going to, keep plugging away at it. How many times does the sculptor tap on the stone carefully? All the time. Or the mason, he's trimming. Watch guys trimming bricks to work the corners or as master masons. The courage of doing the work and the courageous example at Shunlong, I 100% agree. There's at the bottom of that little note sheet, you see a link to a YouTube channel. It's The Artifact and the Moving of Heavy Stones. That's a guy that demonstrates how, by hand, he moves 20-ton obelisks with a pebble. He moves them from flat, rectangular blocks to a vertical position with a pebble in his hands. And then the connection to building the pyramids is a pretty powerful imagery. Chaos, the unpredictable deterministic systems. They're following rules. It's just they're so sensitive you can't predict the outcome, and it's often confused for random. But if we could know and had enough computing power, we could find. And so that's why turbulence is the best model for chaos, because it's all deterministic rules, but there's so many molecules and so many forces that it takes longer to compute it than it takes for the result to manifest. So when you try to understand your way through chaos, you're always behind. All you can do is dance through chaos or move with balance through chaos, a step in every direction at any time. How you fly is how you should trade. Yeah, that's proper. And then you want to know what the proper commonalities between the two models are. And just like you're testing the limits of an aircraft, you want to test the limits of the analogy to know goodness of fit and know where the boundary is all the time. And then you know what your safety limits are based on experience. And that's why you get paid as the maintenance test pilot. And then you notice the aha moment of recognizing what is true is valuable in the moment. And one of the things that you get from true storytelling is focused deep dives into truth telling, and you learn to hear what it sounds like from others. You learn to hear what it sounds like coming from your voice in your own ear, at the same time resonating with your heart, knows it's true when it's sending it, but then your ear is hearing it and processing it, and that closes the loop on validation or verification or acceptance of the truth, in the same way that what you said, and I'm not going to steal this, Ernie. I'm going to receive it and pass it on from this moment, because we're in that circle. It's not stealing. Stealing would be an intention. Receiving and passing it on is what we're doing. That makes all the difference. So think of the maintenance test pilot moment by design going to work at the limit of the machine for other people's lives. You want to talk about skin in the game. You're willing to put your life at risk on the edge so that others don't have to, that they can stay within the safety limits, which is well short of the mechanical limits of the airframe, because that thing's starting to break every time it moves. And even when it's not moving, it's always in the process of breaking from the last time you certified it. And you've defined the design limit, and then the performance limit, and then the safety limit that other people are doing is much less than that, unless they had to. And then you have some confidence that the limit of the aircraft will protect them when they find them in a place where they are beyond their own skill limits, but the airframe will take care of them. So that process for the maintenance test pilot at the limit is the test, the recertification, because you broke something in the test. So the test, the recertification, the acceptance, and the release. So test, certify, accept, and release. That's the zero state. That's exactly what Master Shi is saying when he talks about let it rain. Recognize, accept, and allow, inquire, and non-identification with results. When you get to that lesson, you listen to Master Shi walking up the mountain and the process to overcome the 5 hindrances. That's a pretty powerful phrase. Test, recertify, acceptance, and then release. And you've done what you can do, aho, professionally. I want you to notice the move from 3-minute bars, which took you some time to do being an hourly bar trader, to then and getting comfortable with that, and then testing the 1 minute, which felt like chaos, but then you were able to power through it with interesting results. You were sparring with the champ in the 1 minute round. When you're doing the 3 minutes, that's you being comfortable with shadow boxing and learning your own. And then when you get in the ring with the 1 minute with the champ, you're still surviving and robust. I want you to now investigate, how does it feel trading at 3 minutes before and after? You had a certain feeling about trading at the 3 minute rate. Then the 1 minute rate felt chaotic, but doable. Then when you go back to the 3 minute rate, unless you look for it, you won't notice that the 3 minutes just got easier. It seems like there's even much more time to decide on the 3 minutes after having experience trying to decide at the 1 minute. So if you want to learn how to trade on the 3 minute, you're a 5 minute bar trader and you want to learn how to trade on the 3 minutes, go try to trade on the 1 minute, then come back to a 3 minute, and that'll seem as easy as what you learned to do on the 5 minutes, but you end up cutting your decision time by 40%. So it's that conditioned experience, and that's why you got to spar, so that when you come back to do your regular kata practicing, it's even easier. But you also recognize that you had to learn to rest and reset and recovery time after a sparring session. So you don't immediately you got to physically pay and reset in the same way that you got to have rest after overloading a muscle to give it time to rebuild. That's when the strength is coming. So the idea here is by shifting your time frames, you end up becoming much more proficient at the time frame that you want to dedicate to production. So if you want to have production at the 3-minute time, you got to practice on the 1-minute chart and just, blow that out and then realize, okay, that's just a thing. Now when you go back to, and then after you recover from that, then you go back to the 3 minutes, even easier. On the other end, when you go from 3-minute to 30-minute, as Satya is discovering, and as I kind of showed over the last 4 or 5 weeks with that swing trading, the 30-minute buy and hold, if I can say it that way, staying in the trade, benefits from the practices that you engage in on the 3-minute. The 3-minute is also a better way to exit when it's time. When the 30-minute says, yeah, we should be really thinking about the exit, that's when you drop down to 3-minute or 10-minute, whatever. But that little shift in time frame works in the other direction too. To go, when you practice on the 3-minute, you'll be better at the 30. When you're better on the 30, you are actually free to be better on the 3-minute, because the 30-minute is protecting you, because you have carefully defined the safe limits for that trade, and now you can release the tension of trading on the 3-minute and just make decisions. So that there is a reciprocal and mutually supporting relationship in that shift of time. And yeah, skin in the game and real money and trading forward with one live share is 10 minutes of that is worth 10 months of back testing or sim testing or paper trading at some real point when it comes to wanting to put skin in the game and real money. It's nothing until you have real money in it, in my view. We know the difference between training with blanks and training with live rounds. It's 100% different. And we never forget that. So just an amazing commentary there, Jeff. And I wanted to connect that so when I snip this out, we can put that testimony, the transition, and that commentary together. Satya, the existential learning of experiencing pump and dump, that's why they call it pump and dump, and that's what it's like in unethical experience. And that's why I refuse to let people trade along with me looking over my shoulder. Not because I'm a pump and dumper, but because the locus of control must be yours, or I'm not teaching you what I'm trying to teach you. Yeah, and the bar-by-bar trading and training, that's everything. That's exhausting if you're doing it right. And for Tom, yeah, planning in Mike Tyson and learning to reset after getting punched in the face, and you only get 3 minutes between rounds to reset. If a heavyweight boxer can do that after getting hit in the face by Mike Tyson, then we can do that with the market. I want you to listen to the difference between a claim and a belief and a question. The statement or the claim or the belief is you have to get into a certain mood to trade well. When you add the word do and a question mark at the end, it says, do you have to get into a certain mood to trade well? And now notice the difference that just an emphasis makes. Do you have to get into a certain mood to trade well? That's sort of a generic human statement, good for all time and space. But if I change the emphasis, I say, do you have to get into a mood to trade well? Or if I change it to the word have, do you have to? Do you have to get into a certain mood? Do you have to get into a certain mood? Do you have to get into a certain mood to trade? To trade well? That sentence has 8 different meanings. That sentence of 8 words or whatever, 10 words, 8 operational words. That sentence has 8 different meanings based on which word I stress. And if I change it from a question to a statement, it has 8 other meanings as well. So there's 16 different ways that you can interpret just that sentence. and the biggest one is the difference between a claim or a statement or a conclusion. You have to, and do you have to? So if one sentence with 8 words can have 16 different meanings that are profoundly different, how important is it the way you're hearing your own unconscious self-talk in your own head in terms of setting your mood and the next thing that you're going to do as a response to your feelings? Because there's a boundary between your feelings and your self-talk. Your feelings come up out of your experience, and then you put words to characterize and contain that feeling. So the words you choose and the way you emphasize it is a story about how you understand what that feeling means. And if there's 16 different ways that I can tell that story about that feeling that emerged, that's 16 different subtle start points for the chaos that you're about to get in, which is a deterministic, non-predictable system. Very sensitive to your start point. Your start point is the self-talk and the way you're interpreting it from the feelings that arose without your control from the biological system, which released that energy so that you would recognize that there's something important going on. That's when we get the emotions. So, Jeff, you asked about the science behind all this. That's the science behind all this, is that the words and the self-talk and the bundled story of meaning is how we actually understand the world. That's actually the world we're living in, which is the world that we're living in is also living in a meta world in which physical reality are having some events which our organism, our bioorganism, is responding to, some 1% of which, if we're lucky, we're even consciously aware of. And what we're aware of are the feelings, is the first thing we notice. And then we notice that we put it into words to try to get control over it, make sense of it. And then those words cohere into a story, which we then remember and then lather, rinse, and repeat until those stories become the ways we interpret and understand and our life, and use that as guideposts to live forward. So true storytelling unpacks all that and says it's a choice on the stories you decide with intention to tell about your experiences. And unless you get in there and start sifting around and trying on different things, you are not aware of all the possible ways that you can reframe and live going forward with intention. So choose your intention wisely and learn how to use those power tools carefully. So I will say, if you listen to the interview podcast between Andrew Barry and I spent an hour talking about the connection between the Creativity 202 process from Fletcher, but also this David Boji true storytelling experience about what to do with the energy and the artifacts that come up out of there. Our stories are collections of artifacts, in the same way that that little pebble that helps the guy move a 20-ton stone and conceivably create a great pyramid by himself, give him enough stones and enough pebbles and enough time, he can recreate the Great Pyramids. It's just a matter of scale. Everything else is just management and scheduling and raw materials. The technique is the pebble. That's why a pebble in your shoe when you're road marching is everything. That thing feels as big as a Great Pyramid when when it's under your foot and you're carrying 100 pounds. For Tom, and us, for whatever role you define for yourself in your system, the question is now, are you ready to work? Or are you ready to work? Are you ready to work? Are you ready to work? And then making the claim after those questions and a quick self-check, I am ready to work. That's when you're in the zero state. I don't care how long it takes you to get there, but until you get there, you're not there. And if a heavyweight can reset in 3 minutes after getting punched in the face by Tyson, then we should be able to do that faster. How fast can you reset so you can say with complete conviction in a true storytelling statement, I am ready to work, period. period. That little period is the pebble that moves the 20-ton stone. So you got to say that sentence and anchor it with that period, which is a moment in time and a declaration of truth. And next, I am ready to work. Period. Let's go. That's the attitude that wins. Shunlong, your results were your feelings, and you're recognizing all that. And then the question, when is good enough good enough? That's the question I ask my officers. When is the minimum standard good enough? And they better be able to say all the time to take the next step. Otherwise, the minimum standard wouldn't be the minimum standard. So when you're at the minimum standard, sometimes it's time to act instantly and put it into motion, or the next action is to refine it because of reasons. Like given the ecosystem, the next thing to do is to improve the solution, but you always know that you have the minimum standard in hand, and you never let go of that, which, by the way, is the no lose plus dinner for two. Ernie, I don't like watching myself on my own storytelling, but I do it, and that's your superpower. On planning, the Harvard Business Review story article is from 2006, Stop Planning and Start Making Better Decisions. And I would have reframed it by saying, stop planning so that you can make better decisions. Listen to the difference in those. Stop planning and start making better decisions. That says like, oh, reject that other thing so you can do this other thing. No. Stop planning so that you can make better decisions, because you got to create time and space and conditions so that better decision making can occur. Decision making pulls you through to the next thing to do, and it requires just the right amount and just enough information to do that, whereas planning tries to understand everything. A focus on better decision making recognizes that I pull information to me set up by the plan and preparation so that I can execute better decisions. The decision is the moment, and it pulls forward all that prep, which is why Jeff, when you realize, hey, and Kyun, trying to find the mover when I haven't prepared to do that. How good is that idea? There's better ideas than that, and we don't even have to prove that any further. That's why preparation is everything, and anticipation and rehearsal. And Ernie, reframe stealing. We're not stealing the ideas of other unless that's your intention, which is your choice. But if you think about family-style dim sum Chinese eating, there's a family bowl of food, and we pass it around, and we take what we need, and we pass it on gratefully to others, and then we do something with that gratitude from the food. The nourishment and the strength that represents gives us the ability to give back in other domains. So that ain't stealing food, unless you're stealing food. So get rid of that word, unless that's what you mean. I'll tell another whole story. I got an hour-long story about Alcoa and the characters on the shop floor who taught me in a machine shop making original equipment parts for braking systems for automobiles and trucks about just making a living by making things. I was a little shop monkey, and my job was to turn a piece of pipe into a piece of pipe with a 30-degree bend on it without ruining the part and the raw material and wasting time, which meant there's a whole bunch of other guys that had to design the part to a spec, prototype it, make the machine that was going to make the part, make the machine so that a monkey like me couldn't break the machine or ruin the setup through normal operations, prove that we could make that at scale and sell it at a cost that would add value robustly for us. Oh, but by the way, to make parts that would work on a braking system in an automobile so when a family was driving down the road and dad stepped on the brakes, it worked and saved their lives. All I had to do was make a living making things and knowing my role and knowing what my skills were and learn from all those other guys that set all those things into position to include the maintenance test pilot and testing the braking assembly before we shipped them to the auto manufacturer. So there's something sacred in all of that. Yeah, for Ken, how good is this lesson? Lesson number 2. I didn't even know how good it was, and I wrote it. When I come back a year later and I go, gee whiz. Those questions are even better than I knew they were good at the time. I didn't realize. In the same way that I knew I was doing pretty good on the swing trading, and then I looked at the stats. Wow, now I got to overcome that. Listen to the Saturday night podcast, the opening 10 minutes, about the performance of the 3-minute, 30-minute daily swing trading in public on film for the last 5 weeks. It's ridiculous. And Ken, you're learning that not only do you got to reset between trades, but you got to reset between months and moods and seasons. You know, there's a transition between spring and summer, in addition to just resetting between jobs on the farm. And the more things there are that you see, the more things there are to fear. Yeah, that's the world we live in, but we're fearsome as well. And the market better watch out for us. We are not the descendants of fearful men. You're bringing something to the fight. What is your behavior or ritual that is the absolute confirmation that you are reset, that allows you to state with conviction and truth, I am ready to work, period? Know what that is. Yeah, we're always in the testing phase. As you said, you know, that's the Edison model. 10,000 times to find the light bulb, okay? And then that light bulb scales. What was the value loss? The value loss would have been not continuing. And then that led into the test pilot. Holy smokes. Yeah, FOMO and Fog B, fear of giving back. And let me tell you about Woj and his examples and the 4 charts. You see him trading the same 4 things every day, just cranks it out, win or lose, doesn't matter, cranks it out. That's after 3,000 trades. If you went back and looked at his first 500 trades, you would be, a despair would be one of the legitimate responses. That dude was making a lot of sawdust with the WMB3 and just taking 40 and 50 trades on one symbol until he's just kind of refined. So you got that out of his system, and now his system is what he's doing, and he's in production. So that's inspirational. So let me just wind up by saying, my work in progress is the Saturday night review of the swing trade work over the last 5 weeks, plus that hour-long podcast with Andrew Berry that I made a posting on. He did a wonderful job as an interviewer and the show notes. And when I went back and listened to it, I learned about things that, as I was saying them in this stream of consciousness, that I wasn't even fully aware of as I was talking. And that's kind of what happens with true storytelling. That's also the science behind it for Jeff, is going back and reviewing and listening like Ernie does to discover those things and start going down those different rabbit holes. Rabbit holes is where rabbits live and grow other rabbits. So that's not a dead end. A rabbit hole's not a dead end, unless he doesn't have an escape hatch out of there when the snake comes down, and that's part of the cycle of life. So be prepared. All right, so that's everything I wanted to say there. I got to get ready to go eat some dim sum with the girls. Came home, so we're going to go eat some dim sum. And as the little wheel brings the food around, I'll be thinking about this moment. So amazing session. Well done, fellas. Jeff, there's about a year's worth of work in the last 30 minutes, which is nice. We have an abundance of raw material. And always remember that the master carpenter doesn't have scrap wood in his shop. What he has is wood that he hasn't had a purpose for yet. There's no scrap wood. Who do you think you are describing wood as scrap? That says everything about you and nothing about the wood. There's no scrap wood in the wood shop. There's just wood and tools and people and intention and practice. So that's everything we got here. I'm going to hit the tone and move us um, into deep listening for the word that emerges. And then I'll hit the tones again to move us into coffee talk. And we still got a little bit of time in. So, but I got to leave in about 10 minutes, so not that much time. All right, so deep listening for the focus word for the week ahead. Ready? Here we go. Tom Sullivan.
Intention.
Satya.
Mine is travel, as I'm traveling to India next, like in 2 days for 3 weeks, just to see my family, and I'll be joining you from there.
Chunlong.
Purpose.
Kyun.
Key.
Ernie.
Reset.
Jeff.
Believe.
Sparring. All right, this will move us into coffee talk. Yeah, I don't know about you, but that was about magic elixir right there. Kyun.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out. So I thought I'd go first. Maybe I'll just comment on what Jeff was saying. He was asking what science is behind this thing. I think the answer is I think it's not an answer. It's my view is that it's the true storytelling part of it. I think, and it's probably very hard to define that as science. But Ken, I think you explained it. So anyway, so good to be here. See you all. Satya, safe travels, and Jeff, safe flying for your maintenance stuff, man. See you guys.
Cheers. Chunlong.
Yeah, I mean to see this a couple sessions ago, but I'll see it right now. Can give me access to those base camp history courses and a record of people talking about trading. Actually, I found some really good traders name there. They are successful right now. Then go back to 5 years, 6 years ago. They are students of Ken. I found that really inspirational for myself. That also changed my perspective of time. Time will give me a result. That's how long I see it in 5 years to 10 years. I hope.
Yeah, I want listen to Matt Richardson's commentary. PhD, lawyer, tax lawyer for corporations. came to the live trading workshops. He's now a full-time money manager. He's got 20 million assets under management, working with Gary Antonacci. Well, I'm not going to say more on that. I probably shouldn't even said that much, but that's. I mean, you want to talk about inspiration? Holy mackerel! I just keep shoveling, man. Yeah, Ernie.
I just wanted to say, Ken, I really enjoyed being part of the program, and the thing that amazes me is how you bring out so much, like today, how much you bring out in everyone that's participating in this, and not only are you great, but there's several other people that are really outstanding in their own right that I get so much out of just listening to everyone. So that's amazing.
Well, I want to say that the greatness is inherent in the way we are wired by biology. Is that this is the unsurprising effect of masterminds, and that's the science. I mean, there's science behind this. That's what Fletcher's story science is showing, and when you combine it with the sense making and true storytelling collaborative learning techniques of David Bogie, that is also science. That's social science and psychology. And what science in psychology and sociology and communication doesn't mean that it's the same thing as physics. And the reason I say it that way is that the science of physics cannot fully explain turbulence in a way that you can predict. So studying turbulence scientifically demands that you apply different standards and lenses, but the process of the scientific method is what makes science science. It's the attitudes, habits, and mindset of that going in. So the science behind true storytelling and the science behind Fletcher's story science is science when you bring the scientific method and understand the discipline and the standards of evidence, reliability, all of the issues and criteria of science apply in storytelling. It's just that it has a different domain and discipline than physics, because it's not physics. And that's the hardest thing for post-positive objective scientist folks from the hard sciences have with the soft sciences. So that just because that's where they're coming from. A mixed methods guy like me, a pragmatist, says, okay, I understand both sides of the equation. I know when it's appropriate to use which tool. It's still science. I also know the limits of science, and the limits of science happen when you stop asking the questions and verifying and validating, which is why the test pilot sequence is so darn crucial, because you're acting forward through a chaotic moment, not trying to predict with absolute certainty from past snapshots. That is the important shift. You can have all the science you want, the science of building great pyramids, but that some guy's got to move those stones by hand with a pebble. That's the part of it that I'm interested in. Is I want to move stones. I want to make pyramids. I want to, got to find good pebbles. So it's go as deep as we want into that, but that's what I'm going to go out and talk to in May. A presentation with the University of Southern Oregon with the editor of the 10th edition of the Encyclopedia of Creativity Research. There's only about 150 years of literature on the science behind human creativity, and those guys invited me to come out and talk, so they don't know what they're in for. I've given them plenty of warning, and the warning I sent them was the podcast on the creativity, the creating a culture of creativity, the interview with Andrew Barry. That's what I sent out to those guys. Says, that's what I'm prepared to talk about. You want me? They said, come out and be a keynote speaker. So, that's a challenge. I got to get over my imposter syndrome. And the way I'm going to do that is just by telling true stories as best I can. Let's say, come at me, bro. Let's go. So thanks for the kind words, Ernie. But it's the ecosystem that we all build. It's like a soap bubble. Soap bubbles will rise and become amazing and beautiful, but it doesn't take much for that thing to pop. So when you propose to create a true story circle, you are asking people to believe that what we have is a safe space, that you can trust each other, that you can begin to tell the truth, to explore the opportunities that come out of that, but never lose sight of the fact that it is a soap bubble. Now, soap bubbles have a certain resiliency and surface tension, but they only work as long as everybody remains true to the underlying principles and the commitment. And as long as those things are there, the soap bubble will endure. But we don't lose sight of the fact that it's a soap bubble and intransient. Oh, well, because it's not permanent and universal and all enduring forever and ever, it's not worth doing. No, I didn't say that. But just like everything else that is in a dynamic world, look at a mountain. A mountain is as impermanent as a soap bubble, just not as fast. But if you looked at the time, you put it on the time-lapse photography, it would have a life cycle. It's just working at a different pace. And that's fractal science. So the 1 minute chart, 3 minute chart, 30-minute chart, weekly chart, they're all the same chart, all the same patterns. It's the cycle time of decision making. And that's what you got to see, so that when you are adjusting your time frames, you can learn to use the skills from one time frame to maximize your sustainable rate of learning, and then operate on the time frame that is appropriate for you for production systems by knowing your limits, which is why that whole test pilot cycle is so darn crucial. So the girls got the car started, and they're waiting for me. So I'm gonna sign off myself and stop the recording. I'll leave the room open as long as you need to. But what an amazing session today, guys. Well done. So,